to Hope Education Services video series on autism and ABA. My name is Jessica Leichtweisz, and I'm the CEO of Hope Education Services, and I've been an ABA therapist for 10 years now. What I'm really passionate about is getting families the information they need to know to make sure their children get the best treatment. So tonight I got a question about what's the difference between mass trial and random rotation. If your child's receiving ABA, your ABA therapist is probably using discrete trial training in some form or the other. So mass trial, it refers to in discrete trial training when a child is being asked the same question over and over in a row. So the same question is being asked in a row. So for example, if I was using mass trial, I would say, "What is it?" And the child would answer, "It's a ball." Then they'd get their reinforcer. Or we use an error correction if they didn't get it correct. If I'm using mass trial, I'll ask the same question again. "What is it?" Ball. So I'm going to continuously ask that question, usually a predetermined number of times. That can be 5 to 10 times, depending upon the learner and the decision of the therapist or the supervisor on the case. And eventually, we'll move on. So typically, when you're using mass trial, it's in the beginning stages of a program target or in a learner's repertoire of ABA programs. And the repetition allows the child to have enough access to the question to learn. So the repetition can be really good. Now, random rotation refers to when you're mixing multiple targets together. So if I'm teaching to label things, like in the example I just had, I would say, "What is it?" They would say ball. And if they got it correct, I would probably move on to a different response. What is it? Balloon. What is it? Present. So in this case, I'm rotating the different targets, and I'd be asking them continuously. Usually, in order for a target to be considered mastered, it has to be in random rotation because the children have to be able to use the skill all the time, not just when they're answering the questions in succession. You know, more and more, when I first started ABA, I was taught to always teach things initially in mass trial. And more, I'm starting to think mass trial may not be the way to go for all learners, and I'm actually using it less and less in my own practice and with the clients that I work with. Typically, even if I'm doing mass trial, I'll usually use more than one target at the same time. More and more in my own ABA practice, I'm using mass trial less and less. What I find is that by asking the same question over and over, learners get bored and even confused. Sometimes they change their responses when you're asking questions this over and over in repetition because they think, well, if you're still asking the question, I must have given the wrong response. So even though I was initially taught when I first started training in ABA to use mass trial all the time, now I reserve it for really, really difficult things and for learners that are really struggling with specific targets. But I myself like to teach everything in random rotation now. So I hope that answers your question about what the difference is and whether or not you should be using mass trial or random rotation for your children and in your programs. If you have any other questions you want me to tackle, just email me at jessica@jessicaleichtweisz.com. I'm passionate about helping you to get your children the best treatment there is, and if I can, I will make a video for you. Don't forget to check out our other videos on YouTube and on Facebook. Have a great night.